Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Heal Profoundly and Enduringly. It's so nice to have you here on this happy little Monday with me and Teri. I'm going to introduce you to her in just a moment. But for those of you who have not been to this show before, this show is all about bringing forward tools and resources for you to add to your toolbox so that you can really feel empowered to heal on your own in your own way. And the purpose of this show is twofold. One, to assist you with identifying what works and what doesn't work for you. And two, getting to know some humans that I know are trustworthy and loving and giving and are going to absolutely help you make change on your journey. And you get to kind of get to know them and say, oh, I resonate with her. Oh, I resonate with that person. And then you can start conversations and just, really start to collaborate together and, learn more about who you are. Isn't that what we're all here for? So let me introduce Teri. Teri Gosselin is an inner peace alchemist, divine channel, and best-selling author. Yay. She's the creator of the Soul Glow and Alchemy movement. Teri specializes in guiding women to alchemize their grief and pain into deeper levels of presence and wholeness in their life. She supports her clients through the return and remembrance of their power portal, the heart, which is the key to feeling and expressing their emotions, reclaiming who they are and what they desire, and activating presence and embodied leadership of their life. Her work is a magical concoction of intuitive wisdom, energy work, and channeled healing for the mind, body, soul, and spirit. Her work is a sacred activation. I love that so much. For women to be compassionately empowered and embodied while simultaneously dancing in the shadows and light of life. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Laura. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Hi, everyone.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for saying hello. And you're so welcome, Donna, for doing our beautiful live today. This will also get uploaded on YouTube and IGTV, so you guys can watch it wherever it suits your fancy, here live or on the replay. But today we're going to be talking about healing with the heart. And I can't wait to receive this guidance and wisdom and love from Teri. You're going to feel it from her just by being in her presence. And I always start this show off the same way, which is asking you, Teri, what is that one thing you feel is necessary to heal profoundly and enduringly?
Yeah, first of all, love this question so much. Mm-hmm. I think it's so important to connect to that question, to really feel that for everybody, like in their life. But for me, I have found through my own healing journey and, guiding others is really that devotion to your heart. Mm-hmm. And the reason why, as I get comfy in my seat, is that I think that life has a way of where you just get stuck in the routine, the monotony, the what your head tells you to do or go, or the right thing all the time. But when you come back to your heart, which I believe is the connection between the physical and the divine, and is literally love. When you come back to your own internal self, in your own internal beat, to the wisdom and guidance from God or a higher power, to your own intuition, to really what it is that you desire, what you love, you can change your life dramatically. You can transform so much. But it takes a devotion. And the reason dedication, commitment, all those things, but devotion to me feels stronger. It feels very powerful to devote yourself and your healing by leading yourself through the heart, by coming back home to who you are in that space, which is divine love. Coming from that space really just gives you that permission. It's like this beautiful, sacred permission to be all of you, even when the world tells you it's scary or to be someone else. But when you come back to this place, this authentic truth within you, there's no limit to what you can heal. There's no limit on how you grow. It's that beautiful connection. I don't know how else to explain it in words. Sometimes it transcends words.
Oh, no, it absolutely does. It's like a felt experience for sure. It's a felt experience. And that's why I like the word devotion more than commitment, because commitment is something that first of all, a lot of people shy away from and often have negative connotations with. But the other thing is that it's like very masculine, like checking it off the list. And we don't want it to be that way. We want it to be a deep immersion. Like that's why devotion. And not only that, but like along with the deep immersion, we want to enjoy devoting to ourselves instead of feeling like, oh, I'm doing this because I have to, because then I'll be able to reach my goals.
Right. Let me check it off the to-do list for the day. When really the desire to like come back and devote yourself to you, to your heart, to your expansion, to your healing, it is a felt experience. It's really like this opportunity to create safety within yourself and be able to take that and lead from that space, lead from your own personal safety in order to take those steps to heal and grow. And it is different than a checkbox or, you know, a masculine commitment that we might keep to for, you know, a week, maybe. Whereas a devotion is finding what feels good in the moment to you in that return. And that's the beauty, is I think that our devotion to our heart, to our experience here can look different every moment of the day. It's choosing what feels good in that moment and allowing your heart to lead from that space.
Yeah. And being able to really focus on that moment to moment. Cause that's something I did a post on the other day. It was like, it's even those small moments, you know, and we think that it's like, oh, these big decisions. And I used to do that too, you know, like the big decisions. That's when I would tune into the universe or to God and be like, okay, guide me, blah, blah, blah. But then it was like those little tiny moments throughout the day that I was like, I desire to start inviting God into all of the small moments and starting my day with really welcoming that energy in, so that it's really not me leading, but God leading every step. And it's those little breadcrumbs that build and allow you to feel into that experience, no matter where you are, no matter who you're with, no matter what you're doing.
Absolutely. I think on my own personal journey, I spent a lot of time not being present until it came to the point where, by connecting with God and connecting through that divine love in my heart, it was inviting presence on a deeper level into my life and taking it into those little bite-sized pieces, those little moments to capture and recognize that those really are the big moments. Each time we devote ourselves to our heart, to loving ourselves, to choosing and connecting with God, to allowing to not do it all alone, to allowing that by doing that each time, that becomes, you know, it's almost like witnessing yourself going towards the bigger moment. And I think it's almost like I've been doing a little experiment this month with what the frequency of freedom means to me. And as you were explaining, like, you know, the little pieces of connecting with God, and it really reminded me of like this not just the permission, but like this essence of freedom, that you don't have to do it all alone, that we're so supported along the way. But in the 3D world, it can be so easily like, we go on, you know, we have to be here at this time and we have to rush around and do this, and kids and work and traffic and whatever else. And it can be difficult to see that the present moment that's really right in front of us the whole time, with each little present moment, that there is magic and miracles and heart and love and divinity in each little moment. But if we're so quick to move to the next thing, we miss out on the little moments of being present with it all. So I agree. I mean, I think that there's such power and beauty in that devotion to those little moments.
Yeah. And you know what? I really do feel, I love that you're talking about this, because I really do feel that that's a reflection of our self-love. Because I've totally been there where I've, you know, it's like I'll get a bunch of people who sign up for my mastermind, or a bunch of people who sign up for something. And then I'm just like, okay, great. Now I got to go. I got to get all this stuff ready. I got to get it ready, because I want to make it good. I want to make sure that they get what they need. I did it, you know, and I learned that a long while ago, but it was there for most of my life where, you know, I would just be like, okay, now what do I have to do to prove that I'm worthy of what just came in, right? That's what that's about. Yeah. And so then I realized, I was like, wait, I set a rule for myself. This was like a couple of years ago. And I was like, okay, Laura, you have to celebrate for like 24 hours. And then I was like, Laura, you have to celebrate for 72 hours. Now you have to. And so now when I bring things through, the vast majority of the time, I bring through things that, sorry, my husband just texted me something. Go away. He's the cutest and he never texts me, but he always texts me like in the middle of something like this. But anyway, yeah, I don't even remember what I was talking about. What was I talking about? See, I got to put this on airplane mode.
Celebrating. Yes.
Yeah. And celebrating. And so it feels like for me, I deserve to appreciate that, right? I deserve to feel it. And now when I bring things through, I really immerse myself in them in my own field and have this deep devotion with the codes that have come through, with the way that my body interacts with it, and how I'm meant to express this information, you know? And it's just so beautiful to be able to embrace that rather than, oh, I'm just like we can take this whole vessel of service thing to a point where we hide behind God, we hide behind the universe. And we're just like, yeah, I'm just meant to like deliver and there's none of me here. So it's also very, very self-loving to just allow yourself to sit in it.
Yeah. 100%.
And integrate it for yourself.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, I believe that that's one of the reasons, you know, why we get to have this experience here now. Because God also wants us to come forward and be able to be in service to ourselves, which is that self-love piece. I also, you know, very much lived most of my life similar to how you explained it, where it's like, okay, you know, this comes in and, you know, I got to be of the highest, utmost service to the person to get this out to them, get the contract, get the, you know, what this is going to look like, this experience. And you, in the process, it almost becomes this different type. It's not sacred service. It becomes servitude.
Yes.
And in that way, you lose the essence of what the actual experience is guiding you towards, what God has given gifts to you to use in this way that you're no longer using in a sacred way of being that channel, of being devoted to yourself first before you can devote yourself to serve. And by devoting, you know, to your heart and serving yourself with self-love and nourishing yourself and celebrating yourself and doing all these different practices, you are literally creating that overflow piece where then you can give on to other people without expectation, without worry that you're not going to give them all the things that you've promised. Because ultimately, as you nourish yourself, you're doing more than enough. You are doing the sacred act of why you're here.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier was this concept of like finding that safety within you. And I think it's all of these concepts that we're talking about are very challenging to do without securing that safety. And most of the time we look outside of ourselves to secure that safety. And that's okay temporarily. You know, that's okay because we are meant to be able to collaborate with one another and support each other on our journey for sure. But it's like not to a point of codependency where you're relying on that. And so can you share a little bit about like what you mean by finding that safety within, like what that looks like, what that feels like for people who aren't really at that point?
Yeah. And I can speak to this from experience as someone who spent a number of years on personally my experiences from my grief journey. And, you know, all the things that come along with that as well. And I didn't feel safe in who I was in my body. In fact, I kind of lost my identity on the way because I was giving unto so many other people that I wasn't, I no longer felt safe within myself because I no longer knew myself.
Yeah.
And so when I began really deepening into healing and connecting to this space, it obviously there are layers on different levels. And so everyone's going to experience things in the way that they experience them. But every single person has some sort of trauma in their life. And I found between connecting, which all had to come about in a certain way, there was a lot of forgiveness work that had to happen to create this safety. I had to also connect with what permission meant to me. And I'm peeling back that layer because I was always personally the person who kind of just did all the things and never gave myself permission to like let someone else take it on or lead it, or to sit back and kind of allow myself a breath or allow myself to feel emotions, because I was so busy trying to protect others or guide others in ways where I thought that's how they were feeling, or they didn't necessarily tell me that, but given the situation at hand, I thought they were feeling a certain way. So I then took it that I needed to go above and beyond to help serve.
Yeah.
And so with that, I realized that I had to come back home and cultivate a relationship with myself, like rediscover who I am at my heart level. And that also included connecting with God and angels and other guides for me. And everybody's is different. Everybody's experience is different. But that started to fill in pieces of the whole person I already was, but had forgotten along the way. And so as I brought back wholeness into my life with different aspects and these different relationships and connections, I then started to realize who I was. And it was bigger than, I thought, right? Like our heart has so much in there, so much power and so much goodness. And so from there, as I continued to kind of come back to this place of knowing myself, I started to create this level of trust within myself, which really ultimately is safety. Now, I will say along the way, it's challenging to trust if the nudge you're feeling is the right move, or, if doing this is the right next step. And it takes some time, especially if along your journey, it's been a little confusing or difficult, and it's taken some time. But then, you can also start looking at the other pieces, the childhood pieces. Maybe there's some wounding there, some wherever the trauma experience. You have to be in a safe enough place within yourself, a safe enough place to trust yourself to go there personally. And then once you get to that space, doing some nervous system regulation, those kinds of techniques. I will say I've been doing nervous system, especially over the last 9 months, really deep work in this way, because I found that as I found enough safety and trust within myself to go there, that it felt safer to go in and take out some of the patterns, take out some of the conditioning that was placed upon me, the traumas that I experienced, and look at it from a different lens. And then from that space, coming at it from a place of love, no matter what, always coming from a place of love, which is not always easy. Definitely not.
Well, it's easy for us with other people, right?
100%.
Like people are feeling, anxious or unsettled or traumatized or whatever. And it's so easy for us to respond with love. It's automatic, actually. It's so natural to respond with love. But when it comes to ourselves, we end up, especially if we have a history of dysfunction in our families and things like that, or in our line, it can be self-critical, it can be judgmental and doubting,
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I've even worked through that on my journey, where so many times I've said that I trust God, but I don't trust me.
Yeah. I've said those very same words. And that was coming from a place where I had lost my connection with God because of my situation with grief.
Yeah.
So I really felt disconnected in so many aspects of my life. And then, coming back over the last several years of really healing that piece with God, I was still like, oh, I trust God. God's got me, but I don't have me. And it was really coming in and recognizing, but why don't I have me? Because if God's got me and never stopped loving me, even when I questioned him, then why am I not doing the same through the lens that he sees me in? And it was really powerful when I started thinking about that. And then don't get me wrong, we're human. So these things will continue to creep in. Like it's not wrong to have doubt or fear or anxiety or whatever that comes forward. But it's also, how do you look at it from a different lens? How do you identify when it's getting to that point on your journey where maybe now you're finding yourself in a similar pattern or a spiral that doesn't feel good in your life and you want to change? How can you step back and look at it as if it was a loved one, as if it was someone else, and providing that lens of compassion and love at that point? And, sometimes and that's one of the things that I've had to do too, is like, okay, if I was having a hard time writing a love letter to myself, for example, how can I pretend that this is somebody I really deeply care about, my child, my family, my best friend that's going through something? I could easily write a love letter to them and express all the reasons why I think they are a walking gift. And, and then you can start seeing like, okay, but what if I gave them that task to write a letter about me? What would they say? And how can I use that idea, just connecting heart to heart, for example? How can I think about what they might say about me and write from that place, even if I don't believe it yet, right? Even if I don't believe it yet, and allow myself to start connecting to it, allow myself to start creating safety within those words or experiences or emotions that come forward from that. So
yeah, because it's really all vibrational. I mean, when we talk about sustaining this and like internalizing this long term and not just having this be a band-aid, it really is about the feeling that comes with it. So whether you're saying, okay, I'm going to take the perspective of somebody who, I know would be writing this, that, and the other about me, and I allow myself, you're allowing yourself to receive in that moment. You're heightening your awareness. You're bringing forward more information about who you are and how you operate and how you're received by others as well. And I love it because no matter where it's coming from, you're starting to attune your field to that vibration of loving yourself. And you're going to notice that over time, it's just, you're not going to need to rely on that other person's perspective. It's just going to become more automatic. And that's what's so beautiful. And the cool part is that we don't realize it until we're there. And then we look back and we're like, oh, wait, I haven't done that in a few months. Or, oh, wait, like that's how it always works for me. I'm like,
yes.
Oh my gosh, wait, that's gone. That's been gone for like 6 months. Where did that go? And it's also so funny that you don't realize it until later on. And I think what that shows us is that like, we don't need it. We clearly don't need it. Like how much space was this taking up in my heart, mind, and body? That like, what was it doing to serve me if I can go 6 months without it and not even realize it's gone?
Yeah. It's like when you move and you have boxes in the garage that you haven't opened in 10 years.
Yes. And the other thing that I was thinking of while you were talking about, where you're talking about this was the whole, like, this is what I talk to people about with mirror work. It's like you were just talking about this with a love letter, but like, don't just look in the mirror into your eyes and say your affirmations. I always say, imagine that you are meeting yourself for the first time as if you were going to the airport and embracing a loved one that you haven't seen in years. And you're like so elated and so happy and so full of love. And like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you. It feels so good to be with you. Like holding you. Oh my gosh, I'm touching you. Like all of that. Like that just, I'm enamored with this moment. I'm so in love. I'm so happy. Bringing that to your mirror work. Like when you're looking yourself in the eyes and speaking your affirmations or whatever it is, like, that feeling, what that feels like because you've experienced it before. So it's just translating it into your relationship with yourself.
Yes, 100%. And I mean, even as you're talking about that, like I can feel my heart expanding in that way too. Like there really is that element of the vibration and the energy behind saying those words and starting to connect to that time you had your own experience with that, and really being able to just feel so much love in that moment. And thinking about, I love this because it's almost like thinking about how much love I feel for an experience of greeting a loved one at the airport is so overwhelming. So if you could have that kind of love for someone else, then why not be able to look in the mirror at yourself through your eyes, through the windows of the soul, right? And connect to that level of love for yourself, and knowing like who you are in this world, what you are here to do. And even if all of those other pieces feel cloudy, coming back and feeling that loving vibration, that loving connection with yourself through an experience, perhaps, but that starts in that experience, but then comes back into your body, into your own experience of you, and really being able to dial in deeper. And I feel like it goes into another layer of your heart by doing that. And by doing that, you start to get maybe more clarity on whatever it is that you're seeking, or even if it's just in this present moment, I love myself, even if in, 5 minutes, I'm back to stress or whatever else is going on in my life. In that 5-minute time frame, I love myself so deeply, and I trust myself so deeply, and knowing that you can go back and do that again into the mirror work. I think like sometimes in these sort of experiences of like doing it, we think like, oh, if we do it like once or twice or a couple times, like that's gonna be it. But some of these practices take so much more effort, and not effort like hard work, but effort in a devotion to it, a devotion to the practice, a devotion to shifting into that energy of love for yourself, a devotion to choosing yourself. And it can be so hard because, there might be little people around and you feel like you have to put them first. Yeah. But that's when you go in the bathroom, you lock the door for 5 minutes, even if they're beating on it.
Was this your Saturday, Teri?
I'm not giving any tips away of what happens in my house.
It's so true. It's literally talking to my mother this morning because it's my husband and I's 20th wedding anniversary this July. And so we're like planning, all the things. And she's like, okay, I sent you some information about, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Because we're going back to where we got married, which is where my mom lives. And so I said, well, what's interesting is that my husband just looked at me this weekend and said, if we ever get a chance to finish a conversation, I'd like to talk about these 3 things. Lately, no matter when we start to talk, I mean, I swear we have not finished a conversation in at least 10 days, because every time we start to talk, the kids are like, I need, and so it's like for Father's Day, let us talk for an hour. Like that would be amazing. So I totally get it, but it's true. And we get lost in that. And it's funny because I listen to a walking meditation when I'm taking my dog for a walk. And one of the statements she says in there, and it literally never gets old. It never gets old. I can always listen to this. And it just means so much to me, is honoring myself for taking this time to put on that meditation and be intentional about my time when I'm walking my dog. And it's like every single time she says that in this meditation, I'm like, yes, I am honoring myself for doing this, and it's like that small moment. But I love that you're bringing us back to that again, right? That those small moments, and that if we can bring it forward in one moment, we can bring it forward in another moment. We can bring it forward. And it's like moment stacking, and then we're stacking our moments. And it's like, celebrate at the end of the day that you took that moment, focus on the fact that that's progress. You know what I mean?
100%. And I think that because all the little moments, you work them in through your day. So it's hard, the big moments are what gets all the flash and everything else. I know. Right? But the little moments are just part of your day. And that's when it's like, could you also take in the opportunity to track some of the little moments in order to celebrate them?
Well, I like
and
that.
Like maybe by the end of the week or the end of the month, there is, you have all these little moments that have become this big moment. And maybe the little moments are, I took this time to drink some water and look at myself in the mirror and, have these feelings of love for myself. Or maybe it's, I took a walk with my dog and by myself and I listened to, I listened to a podcast or whatever it is for you in that moment. Right. But it's these little moments. And then maybe it's, I had this big revelation in my healing, and I shifted something massive that's been sitting there and driving my life for so many years. And, this is a piece that I found. These revelations in your healing journey, we really don't take the time to celebrate those, because it's like, okay, now we're on to the next thing to heal. And ultimately, these things that you're shifting are shifting generations. They are shifting how you've walked for decades through life. And if you make one conscious shift in this area and continue to walk the path of this new shift, and now you're working your neural pathways in a new way, and you're doing things a different way, and you've changed the trajectory of your life potentially by doing this, like, that should be celebrated. Those things, it may feel significant in one moment and then insignificant because there's more to do, or I have to go on to the next thing. But if we look at the significance of that moment and realize the significance of our life in that moment, and what we're creating for our children and future generations to not carry that because we have a new lens to look through, those are big moments from a small moment.
Yeah. See, I love that so much, because number one, what we focus on expands. So when we focus on what we're celebrating, right, and we give ourselves intentional space for that, that's going to expand. And yeah, I mean, I just think that the more that we focus on our bigger mission, like you're just saying, this is a legacy you're leaving behind. This is not just yours, it's an act of service for those closest to you and for the collective, and so to at the same time that you're appreciating these small moments, also remembering the mission that you have. And it's not a mission of obligation. It's a mission of joy and expansion and freedom and empowerment. And I think that when we notice that our interactions or our interventions have the littlest ripple, and remembering that, like I tell people, I'm like, read over your testimonials if you're a light worker, right?
Yes.
Like once a week at least, remind yourself of the impact that you're having. Because I remember we were on my retreat, and one of the women has been working with me for years, and we were doing this earth mandala, and everybody got a chance to sit in the center of the mandala, and we went around and everybody stated, like, it was we were filling in the I am statement, and everybody in the circle around filled it in. And so I was sitting in the middle, and one of these women said lifesaver. And I just started to sob, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I said, I do not see myself that way at all. Like I do not see myself that way. And of course, we can talk about savior mentality to the ends of the earth. That's a whole nother show. However, that's how she received it, and that's how she viewed it. And to know that somebody feels that level, we all have somebody that feels that way about us, you know what I mean? And to realize that we've had that impact on even just one person, to remind ourselves of it, to bring ourselves back to that feeling that, wow, because all I kept doing was crying at how much love and expansiveness and joy. And I think that's the thing, people shy away from this stuff because they don't even realize that they don't necessarily feel deserving of it, or they don't necessarily feel like they can hold it, or they have the capacity for it, because it can feel awkward. It can feel tearful. And that can be confusing for people, because it feels like, well, doesn't that mean it's wrong? Or doesn't that mean that something's off? No, your nervous system is shifting. It's expanding. It's adjusting to this new frequency.
Absolutely. And as it's adjusting to this frequency, it's also, I feel like, as you connect deeper into that adjustment, you're also living deeper into who you are and what you're meant to be doing, and into your purpose. And it's that, again, then it goes back down to trusting yourself, trusting the higher power, loving yourself so deeply, and receiving that back. And receive, and like allowing the receiving pathways. We talked a little bit about that earlier, to come in so many different forms, because we, like, especially as light workers, you want to give so deeply, because it's bigger than ourselves. It's bigger than ourselves. We're just the vessel here to facilitate that. And at the end of the day, we're allowed to receive that light back. We're allowed to receive that love back, whether it be from ourselves, where it should come first and foremost, but also, from God, from the universe, from other people, from the testimonials we receive, the impacts that we're making, even when it feels like you're just, doing what you're meant to be doing and giving of service, it's also that sacred aspect of receiving that level. And it's so powerful when we begin to align to that and really opening ourselves up to having that capacity and safety within ourselves to experience it all.
See, I love that you're bringing this up. It's so timely because that's another thing that on my retreat, another one of the women wanted to guide everybody through breath work, which wasn't part of the itinerary, but we're like, yeah, let's do it. So we were doing it and I was receiving in that moment. And it was powerful. Everybody was crying. Everybody was, releasing. It was intense. And literally all I wanted to do was get up and go to everybody because I was like, well, this is my retreat. Like I'm guiding this retreat and I want to go and soothe people and give. And literally God just every time I was like literally getting up to go to people. And God was like, you stay right where you are. You are meant to receive right now. And then I started crying harder because it was literally so hard for me not to get up and give. But I was like, no, I am safely held by my guides. I'm safely held by God. This is where I'm meant to be right now. This is my moment. You know what I mean? To like receive. And that was so hard. It was like tearing a part of myself. Like it feels so wrong. You know what I mean? But it's being able to follow that guidance and trusting and releasing and just allowing whatever's meant for you in that moment to come in. And man, that's so hard for us as light workers because we're so used to giving. And it's not out of savior mentality. It's because we do love it. It's part of our service. And but it is about balancing that with what we're receiving. Yeah.
And I think that's so powerful and thank you for sharing that example of what you've experienced, because I can completely understand where you're coming from. And I could see, as you're explaining, I can feel like my own internal conflict with what to choose. But I'm so glad that you chose to listen to what God was saying and to receive, because by receiving, by taking that step back and allowing, you also gave a different experience for others to lead themselves through receiving that as well.
I know. And
which is so powerful.
Oh, it is. But my human was like, ouch, ouch, ouch. I'm like, it's fine. I can do this. I got this. It's fine.
Yeah. But I think that's also so important to show, like, no matter how much, healing we've done and where we are and where we sit, we still have that human. And that's like part of the work I do with like the light and the shadows of our experience and experiencing it all, because that was a growth edge. That was an edge for you.
Yep. 100%.
And it's so beautiful because now it's like, okay, you found that safety and connection to stay and receive in that moment. And by leading by example, of course, other people also found that. So if they go on to lead a retreat, they can know to listen to themselves and see what they're supposed to be doing in that moment. Yeah. But also it's like, now, if that happens again in another retreat for you, you're going to show up different. Yeah. Like that experience is going to be different. And it's going to be so powerful because you took that edge and you allowed yourself to be with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, I did. I'm getting chills even as we're talking about it, because we're just like releasing it. But that's so funny because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, yeah. And then next time it's going to be a different experience. I'm going to show up at a different frequency and a different layer of it. And it's actually perfect timing to end with this question around how you do guide women through that grief process, right? That overwhelm, that anxiety, whatever's coming up for them, into this trust, into this divine connection, because I mean, we need it. We need you, friend. So how do you do that?
Yeah. So a lot of it is around like the safety creation within ourselves. It's really identifying what works for you, because there is, everybody has a template or a process or whatever, but ultimately everybody has their own divine process and template. Sometimes they just need a person to be there and walk with them as they find their process in this world. And so it's really creating that safety with someone, walking together hand in hand, because I firmly believe that even though I may be in a different level, I'm still on my grief journey. I will be for the rest of my life. Right. And I learn from that connection with people. I learn from diving in the depths of of that space. So together we would do that. There's a lot of emotional processing, emotional intelligence work. And mostly because I find that in at least my experience has been, but a lot of the clients I've worked with as well, haven't felt safe to fully express their emotions. And whether it be, to other people or in a workplace or whatever. So it's really being able to begin to understand how your emotional world and inner world works and processing that, and then learning to get that trust within yourself to express them in the way that feels good to you. And really it's a lot of work on permission and breaking some of the rules that you've put on yourself or the world's put on you, and finding how to come home to yourself. And we do all of that with the center of the heart. I firmly believe that's where we always come back to. I work a lot with like Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, and we do a lot of healing in that way as well, but also an activation so that people can take the threads that come forward from those activations and begin to embody them and integrate them into their lives. Because you can take all of the things that you learn and, another course where you learn a lot of information, but until you actually take it the time to play with it, find what feels good to you, embody, experiment, be curious, and know that the journey is not going to be a linear journey. It's
no.
Up and down journey, but that is life. And learning how to find this balance with what life throws at you and how you can lead it. So,
and to allow yourself to be held in that process. Like that's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of you being a badass who's ready to freaking kick the shit that doesn't serve to the curb faster, so that you can experience joy faster, so that you can experience the highest level of your life faster,
Yeah. I find that those that are devoted to reclaiming themselves, and the work that they're supposed to do in this world, or just healing so that they have the capacity to hold for themselves and then for other people. It really is this powerful devotion. It's courageous work. And when we take on the opportunity to be courageous with ourselves, we lead a more courageous life, whatever that looks like. Courage doesn't have to look like any certain way that it's portrayed. I think it's very individual. And I think asking for help is a massive courageous thing to do, because it's, that you are safe. It's asking for safety with some other person or persons to walk together. It's not like, it's courage to not go at it alone anymore.
That fierce independence, which is most often a trauma response.
100%.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Been there, done that too.
And it's really not a coincidence that most of what's come out of your mouth today was in my journaling this morning. So, divine
always
confirmation.
Connected.
Some of these things that you've said, literally, I can't remember because one of them was a tear it up and throw it out exercise. So I don't have that anymore right in front of me. But one sentence you said was like literally exactly verbatim when I wrote in my journal. I was like, this is perfect.
This is amazing. This was the message that was meant to come forward today and be shared.
Yes,
in
exactly.
this broader way.
So thank you. And I would love for you, we're going to be dropping your links here. And I want you to just let us know, what is the best way for people to connect with you? Because I always encourage people to just say hi and have a conversation. If you resonate with Teri, if you feel like, I don't know why, I just really like being in her presence, or I really just feel comfortable with her, just start a conversation. It's just a chat between two humans. And so where's the best place for people to just start a chat with you?
Yeah, feel free to connect with me on Facebook, like my personal Facebook page. And you can certainly send a DM there, or on Instagram too. I love, like, connection is one of my, authentic values in this world. And it's one where, it's just, I really like connecting with the human and people, because I also see the divinity that other people can't see in the other. Yeah. And so I really like connecting on a human level, because I believe that our experiences are what allow us to be connected, to guide with each other in this world. So yeah, any social media handles, feel free to connect with me. I'd love to chat. And
great. So we have your website, Facebook page, and Instagram there. So guys, you can just click away, say hi to Teri, ask her about her weekend and her locking herself in the bathroom while her kids are banging on the door. Whatever it is you want to ask her, feel free to reach out.
I'm sure you other moms understand this life.
Fully understand. So thank you so much for being here, friend. This was so lovely.
Thank you so much, Laura. It was so fun. I really enjoyed it. And
you're welcome. And
have a beautiful day.
Yes, have a beautiful day. And I will see you guys next week on another episode of Heal Profoundly and Enduringly. Same time, same place. Have a fabulous week. Bye, friends.